New Zealand is a small country in the South Pacific, but it's packed with amazing things. It has huge mountains, beautiful beaches, and green forests. The first people to arrive in New Zealand were the Maori, who came over 1,000 years ago from Polynesia. They brought their own culture, which is still important today.
But what truly sets New Zealand apart is its Maori culture. Deeply intertwined with the land and its people, the Maori share a profound connection to the ancient landscapes. A connection that transcends the tangible and touches the spiritual.
In 1840, the British settlers signed the Treaty of Waitangi with the Maori to make peace. Now, New Zealand is known around the world for its movies, sports, and farming. With about 5 million people, it's a country that has grown strong and successful in many ways. Over 1,000 years ago, the Maori people sailed all the way from Polynesia to New Zealand. They traveled across the vast Pacific Ocean in large canoes called waka, using the stars and winds to guide them. It was an incredible journey. When they arrived, they built villages, grew food, and became expert hunters.
In New Zealand, the settlers shared the land with the native people, the Maori people, a very noble warrior-like people. But the Maori weren't even the first people in New Zealand. The first people in New Zealand were the Maori, and then the Maori came and ate them. Not even making that up. Can you imagine those initial English settlers in New Zealand? Because the British had conquered the world. They had colonies on every continent. So by the time they got to New Zealand, they're like, we've done this before, let's meet with the locals and take over. So they met with the Maori and they're like, so what happened to these Maori people? Did you kill them? And they're like, yeah, and then we ate them. The English were like, we were thinking we could share the islands.
The Maori developed their own language, art, and traditions that made them unique. They had a special connection to nature, believing the land, sea, and animals were all important parts of life. These beliefs still shape Maori culture today and make their history fascinating and full of life. In 1642, a Dutch explorer named Abel Tasman was the first European to reach New Zealand. But it wasn't until 1769 that the world really started to notice. That's when British explorer Captain James Cook arrived. He mapped the coastline and claimed the land for Britain. As more news spread, European settlers began arriving in the early 1800s, seeing New Zealand as a new place to live and build. In 1840, the British signed the Treaty of Waitangi with the Maori chiefs, agreeing to protect the Maori people and their land. But there was a lot of confusion about what the treaty actually meant, leading to disagreements and problems. This treaty would play a big role in shaping New Zealand's future, but it also sparked tension between the Maori and the settlers. As more British settlers arrived in New Zealand, tensions began to rise between them and the Maori people. The settlers wanted land, but the Maori weren't ready to give it up.
This government has attacked my whole world from every corner. Health, taiao, wai, whenua, natural resources, Māori wards, reo, tamariki, and the rights of me and you to be in this country under Te Tiriti.
This led to a series of battles called the New Zealand Wars, which lasted from 1845 to 1872. These wars were mostly about land, with the British forces fighting against different Maori tribes.
They did not need Pākehā neighbours to get Pākehā trade. This freed them from at least one of the pressures to sell land, and in their regions, a land holding movement began to emerge. It advocated an end to land sales across the whole country. In the mid-1850s, this in turn led to one of the most important developments in the whole of Māori political history, the rise of the King movement.
Many Maori were defeated, and the British took control of their land. The wars caused great pain and loss on both sides, leaving deep scars that lasted for many years. The fighting also created distrust between the two groups, making it hard for them to live in peace. The New Zealand Wars were a major event in the country's history, and their effects can still be felt today. In 1907, New Zealand became a dominion of the British Empire, which meant it started to make more of its own decisions. Even though it was still part of Britain, New Zealand began to run its own government. When World War I and World War II came, New Zealand sent many soldiers to fight alongside the British. These wars helped the country feel proud of its people and its strength. In 1947, New Zealand finally became fully independent from Britain with the Statute of Westminster, giving the country control over its laws. New Zealand is a proud, independent country known for its peaceful way of life, beautiful mountains, beaches, and forests. It's also famous for movies like The Lord of the Rings, which show off its stunning natural beauty to the world. It's also famous for its strong presence in sports. Whether it's in movies or on the sports field, New Zealand continues to impress and inspire people all over the world. New Zealand has come a long way and continues to grow stronger every day. The dairy and wool industries of New Zealand faced difficult periods that negatively affected the entire nation. New Zealand recovered from its limitations through tourism and technology development and reached economic growth. The Maori population dedicated efforts to attain their fundamental rights alongside regaining their native heritage and speech. New Zealand works to safeguard its lovely natural environment while coping with climate change hazards and wildlife protection requirements. New Zealand actively strives to maintain environmental safety throughout the age of the future. If you loved learning about this amazing place, don't forget to like and share.